Hi, I'm James and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to look at House of Campaign's British Infantry of the 1970s. Now, always a useful box, British Infantry using the SLR. Now, I'd not come across this make before, so looking at the box, it is the usual sort of bit of information, suggests where they actually could be used, and quite usefully that forms a nice little painting guide in itself. And I've just spotted something that's of real interest to me, which is the figure on the back. Can't really see it on the front. Appears to be wearing a Worcestershire and Sherwood Foresters cap badge, which makes my day, because that's what I've joined the Army Cadet Force many years ago, and that was actually who I was badged to. So, what do we get in the box? 32 figures. They're quite a nice plastic. It's relatively hard, but with very flexible rifle barrels. Some of the figures have got a little bit of flash on. Bring that one up close. You can have a look there. Hoping it's coming into focus. It's hard to tell from this angle. That one's got a fair bit of flash. This is actually the second box I bought. There's a little bit of flash on that one, and this one. Unfortunately, that one. Interestingly, the first box didn't appear to have as much. So, what do we get? Well, we've got 4 identical sprues with 8 figures per sprue. Now, you've got them. We got 5 of the 8 are armed with the L1A1 SLR rifle. So we've got that. We've got 1 officer with what would be the L9A1 Browning, although he doesn't actually have a holster for it. He does have a holster, my apologies. He's got the holster there, and what looks like added as an extra to his ammunition pouches. We've got the L7A2 GPMG, or Gympie. That's always a useful weapon, because that was the section support weapon. If you do want to know more about British section of that era, I've actually got a video, and the link will be in the description. And then we've got a Carl Gustav anti-tank weapon, issued usually at section level in a mechanised platoon, or at platoon level in a light infantry role. So all of the figures are wearing the standard 58 pattern webbing. They've all got them worn to the same textbook specification, in that you've got the pair of kidney pouches at the rear, you've got a pair of ammunition pouches, and my apologies, the officer does only just have the 1 ammunition pouch. They've then got the respirator case worn on the hip. I'm just looking if they all got that. Yeah, they all appear to have. They appear to be missing the water bottle pouch. I've not noticed that before. And then you've got a poncho roll worn underneath. Now, it was quite common for people to actually wear a second poncho roll above, with either a waterproof or an NBC suit in it. So they are missing that. They're missing the helmets, which I can live with, because that actually, in a way, can be useful, because it extends their use past the 1970s. And past even the Falklands War. Now, the problem with the helmet, with wearing the helmet, is that you did have different helmets in that era. The paratrooper helmet wasn't actually ballistic; it was actually just nylon material. It had no ballistic properties whatsoever. So they could be painted up as whatever colour, because you can then paint the berets. Downside, of course, if you've got berets, is as soon as you paint the beret, you're sort of tying them into one type of unit. So we've got that. We've got the various weapons. One thing that is missing, which I find a little bit surprising, given that the box cover actually shows somebody with an L2A3 Sterling submachine gun, is the fact that there's none on the actual figures. And that would have been more common than the pistol. I would have preferred, instead of a pistol, to have a figure with a submachine gun. It then gives you the option to arm them, so to use it as an NCO or an officer. Normally there would be at least one sterling carried by a section, which would be on the Carl Gustav gunner. This one doesn't have one, which is slightly annoying. It nearly makes up a full section. If we remove the officer, you've got 7 figures that would be within a section. So realistically from this you can make up 3, plus you'd have a few over 3 sections plus a few over for a platoon. Now I tend to play 7 Days to the River Rhine, where I use a stand of 2 figures to represent a fire team. So by doing that I can actually pull together 2 boxes of this. Is going to give me a full company worth of figures. This is an awful lot of figures in there. I'd need to add in a 51mm mortar per platoon, but with 1 stand per fire team I can probably get around that by making that part of the command team and not showing it. Pause wise, the Carl Gustav, it's passable. It's unusual that he'd be standing firing. I'm just having a good look at the detail. They've actually given him a pistol, which wasn't normal. It's quite sad really. I've actually painted these up and I've still not noticed that. You've got the GPMG gunner. That's a nice pause. He looks right. He's got the right look to him. The standing firing figure, that's fine. I quite like that one. I'm not sure if it's meant to be grenade throwing or gesticulating somebody forward. Yeah, not particularly favourite pause. It looks a bit awkward in that it's very flat, but it's passable. The officer I do like as a pause. I think that's quite a nice one. I do like that one. The figure advancing with the SLR or firing from the hip, yeah, that one's fine. I quite like that one. When I'm basing them 2 at a time, he pairs well with the GPMG gunner. To be honest, he's probably the only one that does pair well with him, because they are in a bit of a mix of pauses. You've then got the grenade thrower. That's quite a nice one. I do like that one. That one looks right. And then you've got the kneeling firing. Again, nothing wrong with that. That's nice textbook firing position. So you've got a nice mix of pauses. Not perfect. I'd have liked a few more pauses rather than 4 identical sprues, but I do appreciate cost comes into it. Now, a couple of things I will pick up. When we look at the illustration on the cover and on the rear cover, there is, I'm afraid, a terrible mistake. In the picture you can see there, if you look, the figure has got the green lightweight trousers, but they've got pockets on both sides. That map pocket was only present on one side. It wasn't present on both. Really, they should be painted up in DPM as camo. You can probably get away with it painting it like that. That isn't a major crisis. Now the figures you can see there have actually got the puttees, which were worn up to and including the Falklands War. The DMS boots, directly moulded sole, was a descendant of the World War II boot. It wasn't very good. It was in the Falklands. It was found to be a disaster. It just basically leaked incredibly badly, and they were binned. Now the puttees you can get away with by just painting up as black, and that lets the figures go into further forward. You could use these figures realistically as second line troops up to potentially the early 90s. You would see people out in the Gulf War with 58 and SLRs in the rear areas. The frontline troops were all using the later SA-80 by that point, but you could use them sort of up till that point quite happily. So while it says there for the 1970s, they're absolutely perfect for the Falklands in 1982, and it would be very easy to go that little bit further on with them as well, just simply by the painting of the boots. So that's what you get. What I'll do is show you a nice little video I put together of some of the first ones I've painted. I've managed to find one of each rather than having to put all the stands out. Quite conveniently I did have 4 stands which show all the different figures. So see you soon for another review.